WCNC Charlotte. This is Flashpoint, where power and politics collide and the tough questions get asked and answered.
Thanks for joining us here on Flashpoint. I'm Ben Thompson. This week, 200 volunteers working to get a better idea of Mecklenburg County's homeless population. The annual point-in-time count is critical in helping provide our neighbors in need the proper resources. Coming up a bit later, a look at what's being done to get more folks into affordable housing. But first, we are now just over a month away from the North Carolina primary, and a Rowan County lawyer is looking to shake up the Republican race for governor. Bill Graham facing an uphill battle as he takes on Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson. Joining us now is Republican candidate for governor Bill Graham. Welcome to Flashpoint. Thanks for coming on. We appreciate it.
Great to be here in Charlotte again. Good to see you.
Nice to have you. All right, so you ran for governor back in 2008. What's different this time?
Two things. One is social media is a very impactful tool and really wasn't in the fore in the 08 election. Facebook, Twitter, X, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And Zoom. Usually you had to go to far-flung meetings all across the state, and now a lot of times donors and people get together on Zoom and they can talk directly to the candidate, which is a very useful tool. So Zoom and the other social media platforms are the big difference.
It does change things. I want to drill down on some of your positions. You've taken a hard stance when it comes to crime, including supporting the death penalty for fentanyl dealers and human traffickers. Typically, death penalty has been reserved for capital murder cases. As a small government conservative, though, are you a little uneasy about the government putting people to death for now a variety of offenses?
I'm strong on capital punishment. I think as a former prosecutor, I've seen in the courtroom capital murder cases. But here we have fentanyl coming across the border, and I would stress that the immigration problem needs to get fixed big time. But we have fentanyl coming across the border, and it is so toxic and so dangerous that a very small amount will kill you just as well as a bullet will. Yeah. And so with the knowledge that it is so toxic, these dealers both traffic humans and drugs, particularly fentanyl, and you find it also in marijuana and other illegal substances. So yes, I don't apologize for that. I think that capital punishment ought to be available as a remedy and a punishment for those people that deal in fentanyl that will kill on the spot. Very little exposure is required to kill a human being.
And you say for human traffickers as well, too?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Your stance is, you say, about having a real law and order governor, not just empty talk and promises. But we should say no executions have taken place in the state of North Carolina since 2006. And do you think you as governor can unilaterally change that?
You can lobby that the laws need to be stricter and the laws we have on the books be enforced. The governor is the person out there at the front that people identify the state with. And again, as a former prosecutor, I want to bring crime down. Folks don't feel safe at home. Yeah. They don't feel safe at school. We need to harden the schools to make parents feel like when they drop their children off at schools, they're going to be safe. They're going to be able to go home again. We're in a time now where we need to focus on crime and getting our schools and our communities safe again. And that's what I intend to do as governor.
You call for recalling the food tax. Explain, yes. What will that do?
Lower inflation at the grocery store. Grocery prices are too high.
But inflation is a big problem, not only in North Carolina, but across the country and around the world.
That's true, but as governor, what can you do about it? And the answer is you can lower the taxes on food to lessen the effect. The pre-pandemic prices on food, anybody that goes into the grocery store, your viewers know this, 20% higher now than they were pre-pandemic, and they're stuck at that. So, folks have been asking me, Bill, what can you do as governor to do that, remove that tax?
Part of what you've talked about when you talk about changing taxes, you've said that liberals in Raleigh have let taxes spiral out of control for far too long. But as you know, your party has been in control in Raleigh for more than 10 years now. So who's responsible for it then?
The whole group up in Raleigh is, responsible for it. I've asked that, and I've had introduced a bill to get rid of the tax on overtime. I think folks are working too hard and not getting a tax break. We need to get more money into the pockets of the folks that work for it in the first place, because we're running into a situation where we have 10,000 baby boomers a day retiring, and we don't have a generation to backfill those retirees. So we need to give an incentive to the workers and the employers to be able to maintain those workers, but give them that, if they're working extra overtime, they need to be rewarded for that.
You got a big endorsement from Senator Thom Tillis.
I did.
It's hard to get bigger than that in this state. But your opponent has gotten the endorsement of a lot of the MAGA Republicans, a lot of the other Republicans in the state. Does your endorsement offset that?
Folks don't think about endorsements when they walk into the voting booth. I want their endorsement. I want the voters' endorsement. I want them to walk in and say, I've got a choice here. I can pick, a conservative future for the state in Bill Graham, or I can do something else and vote for another candidate. I think they're going to vote for me. I think they're going to vote for that conservative future that they all want.
One of the other Republicans in the race against you is Mark Robinson. He's taken a hardline stance on abortion, at one point calling for a total ban. More recently, he signaled support for heartbeat legislation. Where do you stand on it?
I stand with the current law. I think it's a well-reasoned and compassionate law.
The newly passed 12-week from last year.
Yes, I am pro-life. And I want all your viewers to understand that. I'm pro-life. I was and always have been. And I said, if you go back to my first campaign when I asked the question, that was my same answer. But the General Assembly did a great job with the legislation that they passed, and I support it.
Okay. Robinson has made a number of controversial statements about the Holocaust, about the gay community, Martin Luther King, the role of women in society. Why do you think he has so much pull right now within your party?
Because people don't know him. He's not who he says he is. He's not a conservative. No one says that the Holocaust was hogwash and expect to be called a conservative. No one doesn't stand with Israel and expect to be called a conservative. We have hostages right now, Ben. You and I are talking here, and in the Gaza Strip, we have Americans being held hostage. He stands with Hamas. If you add up what he's been saying about his anti-Semitic remarks and about those remarks about women being, second-class citizens or being subservient to men, he defends sexual predators like Cosby and Weinstein. You take all those things together, that's not conservative. So folks don't really know what he is. And on your station this morning, when I walked into the studio, my ad was running, and I'm trying to inform the voter of the contrast that they have at the ballot box.
And we should say we've asked Mr. Robinson to come on a variety of times here on Flashpoint. If you lose in the primary, do you plan to support him?
I'm going to support the nominee.
Whoever it is.
Whoever it is.
Do you think he can win in November?
No.
So you'll support him even if you don't think he can win?
Oh, no, he's going to lose. I'm telling you he's going to lose.
Then why would you endorse him and support him?
Given the statements that he's made, the opponent on the Democratic side is Josh Stein, and those folks know of the statements that he's made and more, and some of the things that are not being made public. So, I mean, he's under investigation by the Board of Elections for what I have no idea. They should unseal the investigation. Maybe you could make that happen.
I guess I'm surprised then why would you say you would support him if he wins the primary?
Well, I don't think he's going to win the primary. Okay. That's why I'm here. And I got into you might say, well, you got into the race a little bit late. Well, I did because I thought we'd have a candidate that could win. And I'm sick and tired of losing. And I bet you a lot of your viewers out there are sick and tired of losing, too. We've only had a Republican governor in this state once out of the last 32 years.
Yeah, not a lot.
And I want to change that.
You've spent a lot of your own money. I read $5 million. Do you plan to spend more?
Well, we're going to run out of time to spend the money, and you can only buy just so much television time. Maybe you not.
Much to the chagrin of the station owners, I will say. Please go ahead.
No, we're on track to spend what we said we'd spend, and I think that's going to be sufficient to take the message to the people.
All right, primary coming up. All right, Bill Graham, thanks for coming on. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Still coming on Flashpoint, hundreds taking to the streets this week to try and figure out how big the homeless problem is here in Mecklenburg County. Coming up next, what county leaders learned and the push to find some long-term solutions.